Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be taking a look at the upcoming Dokkan Fest that is releasing tomorrow, STR Lord Slug. We are going to be going over his links, his link set, what they do, going over his best linking partners, and then talking about the teams that he's on, like who his 200% leaders are, and some units that are going to be good setups to run him with. So of course, if you are somebody interested in summoning for Lord Slug, hopefully you will find the information in this video helpful. If so, do go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are getting very close to 29k subs over here on the channel. But yeah, I mean, I skipped Roshi, but I'm quite excited to summon for Slug. He actually seems pretty good. But yeah, let's start off by going over his link set. So he has Demonic Ways, Metamorphosis, Namekians, Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest, Nightmare, and Fierce Battle. Now, Lord Slug is a character that people have been talking about for quite a while, years in fact, right? As a character who should get a Dokkan Fest, not just because he's a character that doesn't have one, right? I mean, I've talked about in the past even characters like Bio Broly, who I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like every character who is the boss of a movie deserves to have a Dokkan Fest, right? They're at that level of esteem for a character, right? If they have a whole movie about them, then they deserve to get a Dokkan Fest exclusive at some point, right? But it's not just the fact that the character hadn't been represented as a Dokkan Fest, but he is a what we like to call a proper buff for Extreme, right? So you think about like the Vegeta that just came out, you think about Broly, these are Extreme units, but they have Saiyan links and are on like Saiyan categories and stuff. So they're not necessarily huge buffs for Extreme teams. Whereas there are certain characters that, because of their links and the categories that they're on, are significant buffs for Extreme teams. Characters like Baby and Slug is one of them, right? So if we take a look at his links, now he does have Demonic Ways and Namekians, which obviously if you're building sort of like a Extreme movie bosses or Space Traveling Warriors like Terrifying Conquerors, that kind of team, you're not really going to be getting those active. I mean, you can run like Int Piccolo Jr. with this guy, but he does have Metamorphosis, which is very common. Units like Cooler, Janemba, like a lot of these characters, there are a lot of Extreme like boss characters that have this. Big Bad Bosses obviously is the big one, right? With the big distinction being that at level 10, the link no longer has an HP requirement. So attack and defense 25% is obviously a very significant buff. And then Thirst for Conquest, Nightmare, these are very common links for Extreme characters as well. And then obviously Fierce Battle. So his link set, as you can see, is largely attack based. Obviously Big Bad Bosses being 25% to both. I mean, Big Bad Boss is probably the best link in the game, right? But Thirst for Conquest does give 15% defense as well. So he gets a little bit of defense from links. Namekians we might not see active all that often. Metamorphosis at 10 gives some defense as well, as does Demonic Ways, which again might not be as common of a link to see active. But he is on Demonic Power, Inhuman Deeds, Movie Bosses, Namekians, Dragon Ball Seekers, Terrifying Conquerors, Space Traveling Warriors, and Power of Wishes. Categories like Dragon Ball Seekers and Power of Wishes obviously usually skew more like super class based. So it's not necessarily going to be the best teams to run him on, but you obviously can make builds for those teams where he could work, especially because Dragon Ball Seekers will have some like Piccolos. Power of Wishes has Orange Piccolo. I mean, they're not going to share a ton of links, right? But, you know, he could fit onto some of those teams potentially. But, of course, he is going to be more geared towards the Extreme teams. So we're going to go ahead and talk about his best link partners. Now, this is actually something that I found a little bit surprising because with what I was saying at the very beginning, us wanting Slug as one of these Extreme characters that actually has like a good link set for Extreme, his best link partners are not actually as crazy as we would expect, bearing in mind we don't know what the EZAs for his celebration are going to bring. Because if we take a look, his best linking partner is sharing 6 common links. So he has no 7 out of 7 link partners, which makes sense because obviously he has things like Namekians in there, right? So he shares 6 links with Garlic Jr., So Garlic Jr., they share Demonic Ways, Metamorphosis, Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest, Nightmare, Fierce Battle. So it's literally Garlic Jr. has Revival instead of Namekians. So this would be great, and Garlic Jr. is a support unit for Extreme Class, would be great, except for the fact that Garlic Jr. is a unit who is now many years old and is not particularly good. So this guy would be a #1 choice for an easy A for this celebration. Because, you know, we speculated that maybe he could be the Dokkan Fest, because we know in the files that the Goku and Piccolo LR are going to get an easy A at some point. So they could easy A the AGL Gohan that came out with this guy, and then this guy. But this Garlic Jr. is on the team, right? He's on the new demonic power category. He doesn't count as movie bosses, because this card is like the series version, like from the filler from the anime. So he's not on movie bosses, but he is on demonic power, and he is on terrifying conquerors. So he gets the 200% leader skill from Lord Slug. So this guy getting an easy A would be really, really good. But unfortunately, if he doesn't get one, then obviously he's not really going to be in contention. And then when we look at the characters that share 5 links, we have Metal Rildo, of all characters. Obviously not really going to be a relevant partner. This guy supports GT bosses. I mean, they have the links and everything, but not only is Rildo not really suited for some of the teams that this guy will be built around, but like he's outdated now as well, needs an easy A. We do have the physical giant form Lord Slug, because obviously he has a different name, because he's Lord Slug brackets Giants form. So he could get an easy A during this celebration, because he is a random like banner unit, right? So with these guys not having their own Dokkan Fest, imagine if they did one of those 30-stage Extreme Z battles, but it had like the Int Garlic Jr. and this guy, and then potentially like another Demonic Ways character as well, or Demonic Power character. That would be really, really good. And then obviously the SSR of Garlic Jr., who again, we're not really going to be running him. Now, even when we drop down to 4 link partners, this is where we would normally start to see, like with Saiyan characters, because they have so many shared links, like Super Saiyan, you know, things like Super Saiyan Prepared for Battle, Fierce Battle, and there's 3 straight off the bat. You often get a lot more links. And of course, for extreme characters, we're going to be seeing a lot of characters that have like Big Bad Bosses and Fierce Battle. But when we drop down to 4 characters, you can see here, like if we look along the first row even, all of these characters are essentially outdated at this point, or the last 2 are just the TURs of the LRs in the very beginning, apart from their banner unit. So obviously Lord Slug's banner unit is his 2 minions. They will be providing support to him. From what I remember from briefly reading their kit, like when the info dropped, I'll do a more in-depth video talking about both the units' actual kits, probably when we talk about the summon or skip for the video later. But these guys seem like they could be pretty decent, and they have Thirst for Conquest, Demonic Ways, Nightmare, and Fierce Battle. So they do at least have like 2 of the links that give extra defense. So these guys are obviously going to be very good. These guys are an example of how you do banner units correctly, and not like Kui with Vegeta, where these guys not only link well with Slug, but they actually support him and actually work, like support his team. So these guys are obviously very good. So it's one of those things you just can't control. Like summoning for Slug, you might get lucky and pull him, or you might go to the pity, because obviously he has pity coins. And in that process, even if you go all the way to the pity, you might not actually get these guys, which is a little bit annoying. Tech Janemba, this guy would be another really, really good easy A for this celebration, for not just buffing Slug's team, but like the movie boss's team in general. The only problem is, as he released as a dual Dokkan Fest with AGL Pycon, it seems unlikely that they would easy A him and not Pycon at the same time. And so doing them both at the same time, like Pycon doesn't really fit with this celebration. So it doesn't mean they couldn't do it, but that would actually be awesome. Like if this guy got his easy A, he would be a great support unit for the team, shares 4 links, we'd be good to go. And then when we look at the other characters, you know, all these guys, Boo Piccolo, Android 13, the old STR Cooler, like STR Demon King Piccolo, AGL Metal Cooler, Tech Transforming Frieza, STR Janemba, like all of these guys are super outdated now. Int Janemba, hopefully super easy A sometime soon. Maybe him and STR Gogeta for the 10-year anniversary, that'd be awesome. But yeah, so even the 4-link partner pool for Lord Slug is not particularly great, which is unfortunate. But when we move down to 3-link partners, this is where we start to see some good, actual solid like units that we would want to run. So here's a little bit of a shame that he doesn't have like these really good top tier multiple link partners, because he does have some really good links in terms of the buffs that they're going to give him. But, you know, we've got characters like Cell Max, who is going to be on his team, because obviously they are on movie bosses together, which is one of Slug's 170s. So Cell Max is not going to get the full 200% leader skill. But he has Big Bad Bosses, has Nightmare, has Fierce Battle. So he will fit quite nicely onto the team. We obviously have LR Janemba, who thanks to his Easy A is really, really good and could potentially be a really good slot 1 unit for this team. They obviously share movie bosses as well. Big Bad Bosses, Metamorphosis and Fierce Battle. Metamorphosis is quite nice of a link to have because not only does it give some stats at 10, but it does also give you a little bit of healing as well, which can be quite good. So LR Janemba, obviously a top pick for the team for sure. LR Fusion Zamasu, unfortunately, he is reached that point where he's a little bit outdated now, which is unfortunate, but and he can be used in some events still, and like against AGL bosses maybe could still be kind of useful, but he's a bit outdated now. AGL Full Power Frieza would certainly be interesting when he gets his Easy A, because Slug has Inhuman Deeds as one of his leads, and then Space Traveling Warriors and Terrifying Conquerors are his plus 30, so this guy is on the 200% team for Lord Slug. So this guy with an Easy A, that could be very promising. And then, of course, this AGL Frieza, the Dokkan Fest one, is on this team as well. I think Slug is on his team. And Frieza wants Space Traveling Warriors or Terrifying Conquerors allies as well. So that could be very interesting. Although Slug, I need to see what his start of turn defense and stuff like that is once we get to test him out in game. I don't think Slug is necessarily going to be a slot 1 unit, and Frieza is definitely not a slot 1 unit. So if they're competing to be in slot 2, Frieza wants to build up, so isn't really a unit that you want to have floating on the team. So I'm not sure how much of an asset he will be on the Slug team. It'll be a good team setup for him in terms of him being on a team with some actual solid units, but some of those units will be fighting for the same positions on the rotation. Then we have Hirudegarn. So Hirudegarn obviously being another movie boss character who's also on demonic power, but either way those are Slug's 170s. Big Bad Bosses, Nightmare and Fierce Battle. I mean, Hirudegarn is one of those funny units because on turns where he's good, he can be really good, right? He can drop multiple attacks, especially transformed, multiple supers that do decent damage, and then dodge everything. Or you go into events and he just immediately doesn't dodge and gets killed. So that's an interesting one. And of course, he only gets the 170 lead from the team. Physical Rose, interestingly enough, is a link partner for him. Big Bad Bosses, Nightmare, Fierce Battle. They're on Inhuman Deeds and Power of Wishes together. I'm not sure if there's any combo where they're on the same 200% lead. I don't think there is with only sharing those 2 categories, but that would be kind of interesting on an Inhuman Deeds team. I mean, Rose is good. Unfortunately, Rose wants Super Bosses allies though, so just dropping him into Slug's team doesn't really work. He shares links with the Transform 21 and the Evil 21, the Tech Janemba from Heroes. Unfortunately, he's a little bit outdated now, but there's our boy Mar Jr. Be interesting to see if he gets a bit of a comeback. I clearly clicked on Mar Jr., not 21. There you go. Yeah, there we go. Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest, Fierce Battle. Oh yeah, of course. In Piccolo Jr. doesn't actually have Namekians because at that point in the story, the idea of Namekians as a concept wasn't a thing yet. He was just the offspring of Demon King Piccolo, but Namekians as a race hadn't been established in the lore, so he doesn't have the Namekians link. But they have Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest and Fierce Battle, so I mean that's 40% defense and 60% attack. I wonder, it will be interesting to see if this guy becomes somewhat runnable again, but he is obviously a little bit old now. And then we've got some of these older units like AGL Cell, STR Bojack. STR Bojack could be a really good Easy A option to be the main Dokkan Fest Easy A for this celebration. The only thing is, I think if we see an Easy A for Bojack, that probably rules out any chance of a new Bojack or Super Saiyan 2 Gohan anytime soon, which I know people would really like to see. But this guy getting an Easy A would be really good because he is on the 200% team for Slug, and he supports, is it Space Traveling Warriors? So he supports Slug as well. And they have Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest and Fierce Battle. So that could definitely be very, very good. But yeah, for Slug, unfortunately, in terms of units that are actually good to run in the meta, it's mainly 3 link partners that he's going to have, 3 links active. And then there's a whole bunch of units in the 2 link, because obviously at this point, when you get down to 2 links, we're literally talking it's going to be Fierce Battle and any one other link that he has. So not exactly the most ideal. So It's interesting because, like I say, Slug seems like a character that does have a really solid link set, but then when you look at his best link partners, in terms of units that are actually meta relevant, he's only really going to get partners that are like 3 links and then the odd one with 4. But if he's good enough, obviously that's not going to matter. His team is going to have some really good support units and stuff on it, so be interesting to see how that all pans out once we've actually built some teams for him and tried him out in game. Now, in terms of his 200% leaders, I've just got those up here. Tech, LR, Carnival, Broly, because of course he is a 200% lead for movie bosses. The movie bosses team with the double Tech Broly lead is obviously very good. It's very varied because it has all of the movie bosses characters on it, so you can make some interesting builds with like LR Janemba and some of the other characters we talked about, like link partners for Slug. It does mean that the more of those characters you put on there, though, it means like the less characters you have that are going to be really good link partners with Broly. But Broly doesn't necessarily need crazy link partners because turn 1 he's just there to tank, and then turn 2 onwards he's dropping big damage, having decent damage reduction early on, so he should still be fine in most scenarios. And then we got Scouter Vegeta is a 200% leader for him, which is kind of funny. 2 Dokkan Fest back to back that have Inhuman Deeds as a 170 lead. And then, as we mentioned previously, the AGL Frieza, they're on each other's 200% teams. And then the Ginyu, who of course is outdated at this point until he gets his Easy A, but he would be on his leader skill as well. So he's on quite a few teams that probably not going to be running much. Broly team, of course, for movie bosses, pretty easy to build. Slug's leader skill itself is very good. And then as we went over, he's on a decent few categories. So it'll be interesting to see how well he performs on a 170. And of course, I did show it off in the video, I think, where we talked about him originally. But this is the list of every unit that he gives a 200% lead to. And you can see a few of the units that we talked about. In fact, I didn't mention the Turles army. We should go back to them. Because these guys, they got their Easy A fairly recently. And they are a unit that wants to be on the team with these other like Terrifying Conquerors characters. Provides support. And then has like the same 3 links, right? Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest, Fierce Battle. So 40% defense, 60% attack, whilst also supporting. Like this guy will be really good. Like this guy, Kid Buu, with physical Kid Buu with the super Easy A, even though he only gets the 170. Like those two as floating units on Slug's team to provide a big amount of support are going to be really, really good. So his 200% lead definitely has some interesting selection of characters. Of course, we talked about the fact that it has all of the like demon characters from Heroes and stuff, which will be really interesting. But there you can see like Garlic Jr., Bojack. These guys getting an Easy A would be really, really good for this team. So we'll have to wait and see what the celebration info brings, whether they will actually reveal who the Easy A is going to be. They don't really do that a lot now, where like when the initial info drops for the celebration, we see like the Dokkan Fest Easy A that's going to come out a week later. We normally have to wait and then they like reveal it on Twitter, but be very interesting to see because certain characters getting Easy A's as part of this celebration will be a huge improvement to Slug's team. So we'll have to see who actually gets them. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Are you going to be summoning for Lord Slug? I will do a video, like I say, later today, the summon or skip, just going into more detail about what we could see on his banner. And how will you be building his team? Who do you want to run him with? Give me your thoughts on potential team builds down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.